Well, the Indianapolis Colts got a huge dose of good and bad news following Sauce Gardner's injury, a crushing loss to the Texans. It seems like everything's falling apart. I'm here to tell you there's still reason for hope. We're going to cover all that and more on this video. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts, whether it's breaking news or behind the scenes. Now, I got the chance to be at this game this weekend. It was incredible. Growing up in Indiana, now living in Michigan, I don't often get to go to Lucas Oil Stadium. The atmosphere is electric. It was such even in a loss, going to Lucas Oil Stadium is one of the best experiences in the sports world. I love it. Obviously, I got to see a lot. Got to see a lot firsthand. Got to see a lot of calls. Got to see a lot of missed calls. Got to see a lot of... It was everywhere. The game was everywhere. And I will tell you that I agree with what Cam Bynum said. Cam Bynum came out and said that you don't ever want to be in the situation where one call loses you a game. You want to be above that. And I totally agree. It does, though, however, it's hard when there's 5 or 6 calls. So let's cover the good news. The good news is we got a report from Ian Rappaport that Sauce Gardner is going to be week to week with a calf strain. Initially, the report was a knee injury, and then it was an ankle injury, and then it was an Achilles injury. It is a calf strain, which is much, much better than anything else. That being said, it is still a tough matchup this week against the Seattle Seahawks. And we still have the Jaguars twice. We have the 49ers and we have the Texans one more time. The Colts are now 8-4, which is still, I think, it's much better than I think most people thought the Colts would be at this position, myself included. I thought this was going to be a good year. I didn't anticipate it being as good of a year. That being said, Colts have now lost 3 of 4. So the good news is Sauce Gardner is going to be back. Going to be back this season. He is a week to week. So yeah, this is what Sykin had to say. I'll talk to Lou Anarumo this week, and obviously he'll have a game plan set up for guys we've got out there. And then this is, I think but I think that's the NFL. Guys are going to get injured, miss time, and it's next man up. You've got to put the pieces together, scheme it up, and put guys in position to be successful. The thing that I noticed this weekend was the defense did its job. The defense was really good. I mean, honestly, I think anytime as an NFL defense you give up less than 20 points or 20 points exactly, I think it's a good game defensively, especially going up against a dynamic team like the Houston Texans. The biggest thing I think was the missed calls, but then the offensive play calling. I don't know if you've noticed this. I've noticed this, that the play calling, it's like they have all the right pieces. It just feels bland. It feels boring. It feels like they're trying to run the same sort of thing. And I noticed it a lot when you're watching the game, but even when you're in person, it feels as though the aggressiveness that we started the season with to really try and push things has gone away. And it's to no, I don't think it's to any discredit to guys who are on the field, like Daniel Jones, like Jonathan Taylor, like Tyler Warren, like Michael Pittman, like Alec Pierce. It feels as though guys aren't able to get separation and all of that. That's a tough thing to face, and it's a tough thing to put your defense into. And it's especially when you're losing the time of possession battle, which the Colts have lost in every single game over the past 4 games. That's a big deal. You're putting your defense through a lot. You're asking them to cover a lot of plays, and that's tough. The Sauce Gardner injury was, honestly, I was watching, you see the game, you see it live. It was like a solid 15 seconds before anyone realized that Sauce Gardner was even down. So it was definitely a shock to see. The other good news that the Colts have is that they have all the right pieces. Specifically on offense, they have all the right pieces. And it did seem as though the Colts were able to scheme up different options to be able to give Daniel Jones a little bit more time. He was still under pressure quite a bit. He still was sacked a few times, but it did seem as though the Colts are starting to get a handle on that, especially going up against the Texans one more time. And you've got the Seahawks. You've got some good defenses that they will be going up against. So it's good that they're scheming that up. I don't know what happened to the game plan. I really don't. It's like it worked in the first half, and then they just stopped trying to create new, and that's tough. That's tough to watch. It's tough to be a part of. The other good news is that this Colts team is not going to be without DeForest Buckner or Sauce Gardner for more than 2 weeks. Here's the bad news. The bad news is the remaining schedule is a gauntlet. We've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. The remaining schedule is a beast, and Even though the Colts have all the right pieces and they have almost everyone locked in for multiple years, Alec Pierce looked incredible. The remaining schedule is still very, very tough, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to take guys like Jalen Jones, Mekhi Blackman, and other defenders stepping up to cover for that. But it's also going to take, I think, and again, I don't even think the offense is playing bad. It just feels as though the game plan is not creative enough, and it feels like the defense is predicting it like the rest of us are. Colts started this season with the AFC's best 7-1 record. Actually, it was almost the NFL's best 7-1 record, aside from the Packers, who started at 6-1-1. So they were almost in the same. But the pre-bye week opponents were 400, and the post-bye week, it is one of the most. Post week 13, the Colts are facing guys at .672, which is among the most most aggressively difficult stretches that we've seen any NFL team have to face. The schedule was not balanced correctly at all. And obviously, it is what it is. The schedule is probably more randomized than anything. But this is, I think, where it's going to be really tough. And I misspoke earlier. We have Jacksonville this week and then Seattle next week. This is the remaining schedule. No team has more than 5 losses. So it's Jacksonville at 8-4, Seattle 9-3, 49ers at 9-4. That is a Monday night game. That's going to be exciting. Jaguars at 8-4 and Texans at 7-5. The Colts currently sit at second in the AFC South. And the Texans are only 1 game behind. And currently, as it stands right now, season ended today. The Texans have the tiebreaker, and the Jags have the tiebreaker over the Colts because they beat the Chiefs. The Colts lost to the Chiefs. Now, the Texans face the Chiefs this week. That is going to be a huge game for the Colts. For the NFL, if the script's real, it feels as though the script's got. No, I'm not one to blame the refs. Not one to blame refs. There were probably 7 or 8 calls or no calls. I mean, there were 3 specific face masks on Jonathan Taylor. And then there was the no call on Alec Pierce. There was a blatant face mask to Michael Pittman after a play. It was a tough watch. It was really, really challenging to go into that game and be like, yeah, there's no, the refs aren't cheating us out of a game. But again, you have to be in a position where you're not going to lose by one possession. That being said, it's a must-win weekend, and we've said that for the last several weekends. It has got to start shifting. This Colts team has got to start adjusting to whatever it is that the rest of the NFL figured out that the Colts need or have. Whatever happened in Pittsburgh needs to be undone, and that's going to be the big thing for the Colts is, one, you get your guys back. You get Sauce Gardner, you get DeForest Buckner, your 2 best defenders. They're coming back, and they look good. Charvarius Ward hopefully continues to progress in this, and again, having defenders be able to be on the same page, I think is going to be huge. You're getting your defense back, but it's not going to matter if your offense is still stale, and I think that for the Colts, that is going to be the big thing. That is going to be the thing that has to shift, is the play calling is going to have to be more creative. Josh Downs, you got to start catching the easy passes. There were like 3 drops this week that were really, really tough. I think that's going to be the big thing for the Colts. They look good on defense. Special teams is still a nightmare as far as the kicking goes. But the offensive play calling has got to get better. Otherwise, this is going to be a team that might not even make it to the playoffs, let alone make a run for something deep. But we'll continue to cover that, so be sure to stick around, and we'll see you on the next one.